Time travel! This week on the audio podcast.
Episode 82, the 2012 Christmas special. It's the final live show of the year, but don't worry, it's action-packed. With Santa, a Christmas tree, and a completely non-festive Adam Yanch.
Yes!
It's an Audiobus release. There's no Logic release, and we discuss what we might want for Christmas. All that and plunder on this week's The Audio Podcast. It's the 10th of December, 2012. That makes it time for the Audio Podcast. This is episode 82, the 2012 Christmas special. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! So we have different degrees of festive expression. I have a hat which is cutting off the circulation to my head, so I'm now going to remove it.
That was Scott here, and I'm Sam Freeman. I'm here. I have some fairy lights of sorts.
And I'm Adam Yanch, and I have nothing. I am not. I have not invested in any Christmas-related decorations. So you can have a look at my. If Sam's view is too bright and twinkly, just flip over to mine, and it's fine. You've got a lovely blank wall behind me. So there you go. Scott, what is the number of today's show?
This is show number 82.
82.
So that means people can go to theaudiopodcast.co.uk/show/82 to find the notes.
Yep. And I just found out, actually, you can just go to theaudiopodcast.co.uk/82 and it will take you there.
Does that work as well?
Yeah, I just did it by accident and it took me to the show notes. Remember, of course, head to the show notes. They're the notes that we run off in the actual show itself. So you can follow where we're going, or in the future, after the show, you can go and see all of the different items and link through to what we're talking about, that kind of thing. What else can one do at theaudiopodcast.co.uk?
You can comment on anything if you want to as well. We have people who drop comments on show notes if they feel they've done a particularly impressive disservice to somebody. That's quite nice when that happens.
And are there any other ways of contacting? If, say, you're not so interested in opening up your browser,
you could email us, or you can send us a Twitter, or you can G+ us. There's loads of ways to find out about what we're up to.
Fantastic!
Okay. But we are not forwarding letters to Santa, even though he is actually here with me right now with his saxophone.
That was actually me that did that.
That was still beautiful. Okay, let's get into the news, because I think we're going to struggle to stay on topic. This, for people who are wondering, this is the final live show of 2012 because I'm predominantly an academic in a sense of the word, and consequently I don't really do any work between Christmas and New Year, and then like to take half of January off as well. So this is our last live show. There will, however, Sam, I'm committing us to it. I'm sorry. There will, however, be a best of 2012 show, which will appear in the feed sometime in the next fortnight, probably.
If you have any favourite bits that you'd like to nominate as your what you think were the best bits, then let us know through the previously mentioned channels. Shall we get into the news?
Audiobus have released. It's there.
Audiobus.
It's like a Christmas present for everybody.
This is what I alluded to last week. Create Digital Music had a kind of pre-announcement article about it, so you can head there to get thing. Or now Audiobus is a place to go to find the place.
Now, I was interested in this because I've been following this for a long time, probably since the end of last year. I've been following it because the guy who is one of the key guys behind the coding is called Michael Tyson, and he's made some other apps. Loopy HD's one for the iPad. And he also, when I was doing audio programming, he had some useful articles online about certain things to do with core audio. So that's how I kind of got to know him. and then he started up this whole. It's almost like it came out of nowhere in a way. I kind of remember the early tweets because I started following his Twitter, and it was like, "Hey, you know what? We could even just try and do this." And all of a sudden, Audiobus, the idea was there, and then it's just been building and building and building. And you know, got to say, looking at the documentation, looking at all the pictures and all of the demos and everything, looks pretty fantastic. So we'll take a good look at this one and we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be a very useful tool for the iOS musician.
So Audiobus is basically a way of linking lots of audio apps together. So you can create audio in your favorite kind of iOS synth, iOS sampler, then route it from there into a kind of processing, into an effects unit, and then from there route it again into something to actually record the parts. So it's essentially the equivalent of, you know, something like Jack on a kind of, you know, on a Linux platform, or Jack, you know, Jack on an OS X platform as well. So it's a great way of kind of having virtual, being able to link things together in that kind of virtual port, kind of rewire way that we've all been used to in, you know, kind of on full kind of fledged desktop OSs.
Yeah, rewire was the one I was going to say, because it has kind of different modes. An application can support Audiobus either as an input, an effect, or an output.
Yeah, but it is something that has to be supported by the app itself. It's not it's not a system-wide thing. It is apps have to be built to support Audiobus functionality.
So if your favorite iOS app is not supported, you have to go and badger the developer. If the developer's been paying any attention, they'll realize what Audiobus is and how important it might be to their app, and badger them, and maybe they'll get it implemented into their app, and you can be all happy in an Audiobus related world. So there you go, Audiobus. That's a good Christmas present, I would say.
Merry Christmas.
Ho ho ho.
Designing Sound have a great guest article by Ian Palmer about creative uses of reverb for movies. I thought it was cool. It could well have been Plunder, but I put it in the news section. Apparently, I don't recall why. But, oh no, it's because it's this week. It's brand new, so it's the kind of thing that if I found in a few weeks it would have made Plunder. But as it is up to date, it's new. There you go. Cool.
So, is there a good one that you can guide us to? Is there an interesting use for reverb that I would think, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's a good idea.
No, I think the techniques would all be things that you would be aware of. It's just the ways they're used to perhaps provide context, or to provide a kind of uniform backdrop for a character or a certain kind of location and situation in you know.
And of course, reverb could be used to not create a. You know what I mean. It could be used not for its usual purpose of trying to recreate a space, or it could be used to create a space that doesn't actually exist, as happens a lot in audio production for just like records and stuff. Anyway,
yeah, definitely so. I thought it was cool, so it's there. Awesome. Shall we move on again?
Okay.
Yes, but I think we should just stop and explain why Scott is rushing us through so quickly.
No.
No?
I have to confess that I haven't had my dinner yet, and my dinner arrived just as the show was about to start, and I'm very interested in eating it. I'm sorry, everybody. I just am. I'm just hungry.
So it's going to be a long-running conflict in the audio podcast now. It runs at 9 p.m. on a Monday. That it's going to be the audio podcast versus Scott's dinner. So it's going to be me and Sam trying to drag it out whilst Scott starves.
So, talking about dragging things out, MOTU would like to drag the support cycle of your chosen audio hardware out further, and are announcing Windows 8 compatibility. Now, it's not actually quite that. What they're saying is that as far as they're concerned, all of the Windows 7 drivers should work under Windows 8, because that's what they were built to, and they were built in line of doing that. And therefore, they're saying that Windows 8 is supported, though they are saying that final testing is still ongoing, and hence there'll probably be some updates eventually. But right now, they would say that the supported devices are all of the hybrid FireWire USB 2 audio interfaces. So that's any Mark 3s, any Mark 2s, that sort of stuff. 8 Pres, 828s, ultralights, travelers. The USB audio interfaces, microbook 2s, the USB MIDI interfaces. Does anybody use a MIDI interface? Just ignore the question, that's a distraction. And PCI 424 audio interfaces as well.
I use MIDI interfaces. MIDI interfaces are awesome. Yeah.
Cool. I just wondered, like, I don't even know my MIDI Sport 4x4 actually is, but I haven't plugged in for years. But anyway, I thought that was cool. You know what I mean? I'm saying hats off to MOTU, who are, as always, right up to date. Right up to date and pushing out kind of support for stuff as it's appearing. I think that's cool.
In their supported software, they've not mentioned Digital Performer. That's MOTU, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
The DP has. They are. It might have been released already, actually. DP8. Or it's very close to being released.
Yes, it has been released.
It has been.
That's
released.
the version that offers Windows support.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I remember we talked about this a few weeks ago, and I suggested it was a good idea.
Yes.
The end.
Adam endorsed it, and the world cheered.
So we have another hardware manufacturer who has a software DAO thing new also. This is PreSonus and Studio One with their 2.5 release notes.
I love the fact that they put a number in the name of their DAW. Studio 1, version 2. It just makes it so complicated.
It does. So there are over 100 new features, 64-bit native effects, and no limit on the number of plugins that can be used in a song. Are you aware of any DAW that does have a limit on the number of plugins that could be used in a song? Because the way that was written, kind of, to my mind, was kind of like a little bit of a slight against somebody else, but I couldn't work out who it is who's releasing a DAW which has a limitation like that.
Certainly, historically, there used to be limitations. Like there used to be limitations on track counts, and so the number of plugins that you'd have available.
That's true. It used to be built in as well to the structure of the payment structure. So Logic, going back years and years, Logic Silver had this many effects inbuilt, but you could only use 8 buses, and then Logic Gold you could use 16 buses or something like that. Those aren't the numbers, but they used to regiment it into the structure of the actual product line. Yeah. But now, we all know it's down to, there should be no limit. It's down to what the computer can do.
Yeah, that's true. So that's interesting because as a developer, if you're going to say you can do as much as you want, you eventually get to the point where somebody does too much and the computer dies, at which point they're going to be like, oh, it crashed, incorrectly identifying it was their action that crashed it, not the developer's action. I just point that out. That's just an observation, really. That's it. However, as always with a release, I always think the highlight is the things that have been resolved. Because it just amazes me. So playback was out of sync when using a long fade in an overlaying object. Project audio cache file was not updated after song update when the song sample rate had changed. Send level automation was 10 dB too low. And crashing when undoing MIDI recording I thought was particularly spectacular. So that's
because that's something you would do quite often, like record now, do it again.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been every MIDI recording. It would have been in very particular situations.
Oh, of course, but I just thought it was, I like to read back the kind of fixes and releases and just think, wow, how did anybody ever use it? So, that's
Oh, I've got a Logic top tip for you.
Oh.
Make sure you go into Logic, into Preferences, and tick that effects automation should be sample accurate, because it's not by default. And I was having this weird problem where the effects automation was happening obviously after it was actually drawn in. There was a discontinuity between what I was seeing and what I was hearing, and that's how you solve it. And it should really be it should be ticked by default, but it wasn't in this case.
Adam, do you think that'd be something that'd be a default in the next version of Logic?
I think that'd be something that'd be removed in the next version of build.
Well, it depends. It depends whether the next version of Logic is basically, we've got themes or something. Oh, people like themes from Reaper. Let's put themes into Logic, and then let's take 2 years doing it. Is that going to be the next story? I haven't been looking.
No. I was just going off on one for fun there. Well, I guess it'd depend whether 2014 is year of themes, won't it? Really, whether the Logic release has themes in it.
2013.
No, 14.
14.
Let's not be overly ambitious in Logic release. That's
Well, I will be honest. I have been waiting to hear about a new version of Logic since last year, since 2011.
Don't worry about it.
Nothing.
You'll wait forever, won't you, Adam?
We had the little bit of news last week that a Logic dev sent someone an email saying we're hard at work with Logic. So we've got to assume something's happening there, and we've got to assume there's going to be a new Mac Pro. Same boat. Anyway, let's move on. And we'll move away from DAWs, because as fascinating as DAWs are, there are some other interesting parts in the audio world. And what more interesting than the radiophonic workshop, Sam?
I know. If I had to hand some kind of Doctor Who sound effect, I could have done a really good link between time travel and game, but I didn't have that kind of. I only thought of it there.
There you go.
So the prospect of a new incarnation of the radiophonic workshop was talked about a while ago, and we were pretty much unimpressed at the time at what they were suggesting. But it seems there was another project that was going on similarly in time. People were working on recreating some of the technology in the browser, so using the Web Audio API to create some of the bits of kit that we used in the olden days for sound effects and stuff.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it only runs in Chrome, or at least it works best in Chrome. And yeah, they've got the gunfire effects, a wobulator, tape loops, and ring modulator have been modeled. And the JavaScript code is all there side by side and explained alongside schematics of the original stuff and whatnot. I think it's really well presented. I like it.
Sweet. Wobulator is the kind of effect that I would name, because I used to have the old scrubulator, and yeah, but that sounds good. And of course, it's fascinating that it's coming into the web browser. It's actually the web browser that's handling these things natively, rather than it being palmed off to Java, if Java could even do it, or downloadable or something like that.
The wobulator is a good example of how this is, this is very, very simple. This is a single oscillator with a second oscillator modulating the frequency, and that's it. They've gone a bit further and added a audio waveform control, but that wasn't even on the original hardware. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of super instrument.
I think the thing that's interesting about it is the fact that they've got the code right there to. Because last time I looked at the audio stuff was, well, probably 2 years ago now, and the examples that were around were a bit kind of clunky, and I found myself, basically working out my own way of doing stuff, whereas now it all seems to be a lot more stable, there's a lot more libraries available, and the code looks a lot more cleaner to do this basic stuff. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Sweet.
Awesome.
And if you want to go and check out that link, arm up your Safari or your Chrome browser, and head to the audiopodcast.co.uk//82, where the link to that website is.
Hooray.
Amongst other things.
Indeed.
That's the end of the news.
It is. It's the end of the news. It takes us to the incredibly imaginatively titled Other Section, which may even have a complete reinterpretation by the time we return next season. But it's time for This Week on Twitter.
Okay.
From the perspective of the audio podcast, and generally summarized as having happened in the last 2 minutes.
No, again,
ish.
I bet we've not sorted Adam out with the login, have we?
But that's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine. I can do background music whilst you guys are scrolling through your Twitter feed there.
Awesome.
Propellerhead have 25% off selected rack extensions today only. So if you're listening to the show live, you've got it. And if you're following our Twitter, I've retweeted it. That's nice. Sam.
I've now loaded the thing. Mixmag have thousands of police officers raided that. What? I don't think that's got anything to do with sound, but I started reading it 'cause it's the first one my eyes landed on. So I'll read it. No, I'm not going to read it.
Well, that's okay then. The Hit Squad suggests that a year-long subscription to Electronic Musician magazine might be a good choice for Christmas. That's not very good, Sam.
Sorry, I'm finding the music really distracting, actually.
Okay, I'll stop.
I was enjoying it too much, that's the problem. It's not that it wasn't good, it's like, can't read and listen at the same time. I could have taken my headphones off, that would have been an option. Music startups, product is probably just a feature. There we go.
Very nice.
Even slightly cryptic.
Yeah.
Slightly cryptic indeed. I don't know how much more, I'm just looking at. Oh, tune in tomorrow to learn all about the new features in Studio One 2.5. That's webinars from Personas tomorrow. Awesome. I'll retweet that. Boop. There we go, done.
Sorted.
Sorted, man. Sorted. Anything else? I think we're probably getting there. I'm starting to run to the end. Some weeks it's good, this, and other weeks it just feels like it just doesn't work.
This week is one of them. I like the lighting on your Christmas tree. It looks kind of dark and brooding.
There are no lights on my Christmas tree.
Well, there is. There's a light behind your Christmas tree. I said
I am lighting it. Yes.
I meant the lighting of your Christmas tree.
Yes, it's being lit from behind to give it a kind of rim light. If I almost set it up properly and then just couldn't be bothered, so I didn't. It's But I think Santa is satisfied with the quality of lighting available today, which is fine. So, no, yeah. I think we've made it to the end of this, haven't we? I think we just crashed out of this,
Oh, well.
Now, I would like to put something in, an extra thing into the other section.
Oh, that's
right
fair
now.
Enough. You know what we never mentioned? We should have been in the news. The new Cycling 74 wiki for Max.
Oh, yeah.
I thought we mentioned this, or you guys mentioned it last week.
I know I mentioned that it was going to be a news item this week, but I just didn't put it. Fail.
Well, it'll have to be
a new wiki.
It'll have to be Plunder next episode, which will be in 2013. So there you go. It'll give it time to mature, and we can say more about it. How about that? But what I would like to go on to is very topical, because we are coming up to Christmas. It's 15 days away now. And I was wondering if you two were to send a Christmas list to Santa, what would be the -- 1 thing on your Christmas list?
Ooh.
Audio Santa. Audio Santa.
Audio Santa.
Audio Santa. Does the case for my Raspberry Pi count as audio? It's still hanging around naked. That's the first thing.
What are you going to do with the Raspberry Pi? Is it going to be audio, or is it just going to be...
I've been doing data processing for audio with it, if that makes sense. So processing control data within network system, but and I've done some audio with it. I'm sure I would do more. Anyway.
But that's the only thing you'd want, a case for your Raspberry Pi from Audio Santa. You could have anything. Or maybe not anything, but give yourself...
Adam, I could have refused to answer.
You couldn't refuse to answer.
I could have refused to answer.
Oh, you could have. Well, I would have been like, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Something I've been missing, but I've just been trying to check my... I can't remember exactly, but it's been something I've been bugging me for a while here. What was it the Electra voice mic that I used to like using?
The RE something.
B20. I think it was an RE20, wasn't it, or something like that. But I've been really missing that mic recently. And I remember using it and really liking using it, and that'd be something I'd kind of like. But that would be nice. I'd like that. And also, you see, I didn't think about this beforehand. If you'd asked me beforehand, I would have thought about this, because there was a channel strip that I was using a couple of weeks ago, it had a de-esser on it, which was absolutely awesome. And I really want to run this and try to think what it was now.
I'm going to buy this channel strip because the de-esser is awesome.
But it literally, I was doing something with it and it sorted a little bit out, and then I remember I have like a really terrible a recording with loads of like extra kind of semblance on it. And I thought to myself, I'm just going to, and I use it as a demonstration for kind of, DAW techniques for fixing it. And I thought, I'm just going to try this out. And I ran it through, and it literally cleaned it up like 90% done, just with the dial. Just kind of putting the, moving the knob into the right position, sort of stuff. I was really impressed with the way it worked, and it was a nice kind of quick, easy fix. However, I can't remember what it was. I don't, my mind went blank as he said it. But that would have been nice. That one was, yeah, that's kind of cool.
Cool.
I'm very satisfied with my lot, though. I would say, I just, I don't mean that in a kind of weird way. I just, yeah.
Nice.
That's how I am. How I am. Adam, is there something that you're hoping for from Audio Santa?
Yeah, I think so. I aim small, and I'm interested in a Mutable Instruments Cheruthi 1 DIY synthesizer.
Very
now,
cool.
I don't know, did we ever talk about this?
Yes,
we did, yeah.
So it's basically like a synth that you can buy, which is you build yourself. It's a kit, and you put it together yourself. It has multiple interchangeable bits and bobs, so you can change the filter, you can change and then you case it up yourself. So you can build your own case, or get a stock case, or get a company to make a case for you. And yeah, it's a kind of a fun little thing, and you know what? It's not very expensive for what it actually is, I think. So yeah, that would be top of my Christmas list.
Very good.
From Audio Santa. So
Audio Santa.
Audio Santa. Okay, we can now conclude the other section and move on to the final section of the audio podcast for this week, which is the plunder.
The plunder?
Audio Santa would probably live in a house like this. And the first item posted by Scott is he said, well, we had to have one of these, and it's fair enough. So houses with Christmas lights covered in Christmas lights synced up to music. There we go. I think everybody has seen these before. If not, have a look.
I selected that one based on the ridiculousness of the Christmas dubstep and the failings of the Christmas dubstep in every possible way as well. It was just so bad. It was brilliant. I thought it was fantastic. And I see we got a comment on that. Was that you, Sam?
That was me. Yeah, because when it gets to the end, it says on the suggested videos. There was one that said 7 of the best houses covered in lights sync to music. So the comment was just 1. Here's 7 more. I confess I did not make it through watching the 7 more.
That is fair enough. Now, our final item of plunder for this week, though, is absolutely spectacular. So, it is a video regarding MTV and why they no longer play music videos.
Yes, this is fantastic. I heartily recommend people watch this in a not safe for work kind of a way. It's not family friendly. We really couldn't broadcast this at all with our clean sticker, but
it is fantastic.
It is fantastic. Yeah.
Adam, have you seen this?
I have not seen. I've seen some links to it. It seems to have got a bit of internet wind behind it, but I haven't actually looked at it myself.
The first 20 to 30 seconds or so kind of might not engage you as that exciting, but then once it gets going, a viewer posts the question at the beginning, why does MTV not play music videos anymore? And then an executive response. It
is spectacular. It is spectacular.
Then that might be my evening viewing for tonight, post the audio podcast.
Fantastic.
Now, was that the last plunder item?
Yes.
Now, let me just say at this point in time, we're coming up to the end of the year. The audio podcast. We're back in 2013. No more shows this year. Back in 2013, and you know what? On behalf of everyone who listens, I would personally like to thank both Scott and Sam for delivering audio podcast news and interest and stuff like that over the whole year. It's been solid as a rock. That was terrible.
That was just a big excuse to press the applause button, wasn't it?
It was just a big excuse. Well, no, I mean, of course I mean it, because, you know, I mean, every week you've got this all set up, and I think having been a long-time listener from the beginning, the quality of the show has really gone up significantly since the start.
That would have been ace if you'd said it had gone down. That would have been great. It's like, you know.
Well,
really
I could have said
got
that.
Worse.
I could have said that, but I would have been lying, because it has got better. It's got very much better. So what I say is excellent up to this point, and then next year to the stars.
To the stars indeed. Sam, I do believe we discussed when we were going to start it up next year, but I don't remember what that date it was.
Should we just not commit?
We will be back. We won't be back the first week of January. We won't be back. I suspect we're probably struggling to make the second week of January, so I suspect it'll be the third week of January.
I think it's probably not. Is in my head. I don't know if that's if that's a Monday, then that's yeah.
But I don't think we're not going to be on Mondays, are we? Or we're possibly not going to be on Mondays. We have to. There's a little question mark about whether it's going to be Monday or not. Still, that's the final. We're not sure. I'm saying if people have an opinion and they really like the Monday or they really dislike the Monday, then you could let us know, and that would help us to inform that kind of thing. And we can work out and see. I guess Monday is as inconvenient as every other day of the week will inevitably be, but at the same point, it's just maybe we'll see.
I might kind of prefer the earlier time slot, the 7 p.m. time slot.
Well, you see,
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Monday can be no earlier than 9 o'clock. That's the earliest we can do on a Monday. Which I've got some contact from some of our American listeners, some people over in America who actually quite like this time slot, because it's actually
it'll be more convenient for them.
It's a nice time for them. It's the inconvenience for people for here sort of stuff. But we're just have to see. That's just. I'm sure once Sam and I eventually make a decision, we're letting people know when and where it will be, and we're turning up there. And there will be the Best of 2012 audio podcast at some point between now and New Year's. So there will be one extra show up here, but it won't be... Well, it will be live, because we will probably record it in a Hangout, won't we? But there won't be any advance notices necessarily when it's going to happen, and it probably won't happen on a Monday. We're just going to put it together and push it into the stream eventually. So
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are you going to go back through all of this year's episodes and compile a list, or have you been compiling a list of the best moments? This is the best moments of the audio podcast.
Well, no, it's just going to be a review of things we've done this year. I did momentarily consider building the best parts of the audio podcast 2012, but decided that was just too much work and effort to do. So I'm not. We could do that for 2013. I start to make little notes of when we thought was good and not good, and
yeah.
maybe that could happen. If anybody wants to, remember the audio podcast is Creative Commons licensed. So if anybody out there wants to, you can build your own highlights of 2012 if you want to. If you do that, if you build your own highlights of 2012, let us know, and we will definitely enjoy having. You know what I mean? We're definitely link that.
We will definitely click on the link and open it in YouTube.
Oh, definitely so. That would be awesome stuff. But I feel at this point I suspect that most of our listeners are very well accustomed to the fact that sometime around the beginning of the plunder is time to silliness really descends. So I feel that we've made it to the end of the 2012 audio podcast Christmas special. It is with there we are. Yeah, it's with sadness we reached our final live scheduled show of the year, and it draws to its close. And as the winter nights pull in around us, I hope people find other ways of spending their Monday evenings and all that sort of
maybe
stuff.
making music. That's a good one.
Oh, that's an idea.
A great idea. So like that. So I guess that's us brought it to the end. Oh, feels so sad. Oh, This has been the Audio Podcast, episode 82, the 2012 Christmas special. I've been Scott Yurt. I've been joined by
Sam Freeman. Hello. Goodbye.
I have been and shall continue to be Adam Yanch. Thank you for listening.
Goodbye.